Hi, everyone. I hope you're all well. Nate here, broadcasting from our Dublin office. And today on our Powerful Reporting with Streamtime and Wayahead, we have our very special guest, Mil Direct. Some of you might know him as he used to work in Streamtime.
Hello, good morning, everyone.
Good morning. Today we are touching on, hi Sam, we are touching on our Streamtime API and the capabilities of this API. And what a better way to showcase what a cracking API Streamtime has than to see it in action, with your app. So would you mind telling us how did you find building your app on our API? What is Wayahead? How can you connect to it? Let's just get started. And just before we do, if anyone has any questions, drop them on the side. We'll answer on the go, or perhaps if we're kind of going, we might answer them at the end.
I'm going to go on and share my screen while we're at it. If anyone can confirm that you can see the screen okay now.
Yeah, I can see the screen perfect.
Just a few general things. So when I started building with the app, the way that Streamtime has done it is actually quite amazing. If you want to find information about the API and how you can use it, obviously you go to the documentation Streamtime. You'll somehow end up on this page where you will find that everything is really, really well documented. This was incredibly helpful for me when I started building. Not just this, but you can also use Postman. This is something, if you don't know what all of this means, don't worry. I just give this to a developer and they'll tell you. An application like Postman is really great because the entire API is documented, and you can really simply, just test calls in here. Send something to the API, see what it returns, and then you can work with that in your application. So this has been really, really great as I was building the application.
So how do you connect to this? Where do you see this documentation? So within Streamtime, we have an integrations page, don't we? Do you mind showing us that?
Yeah, I'll quickly jump across to that. So in Streamtime, if you go to the menu, the side menu, and then go to Profile and Settings, you're going to find integrations over here.
Slow down for a sec. Here we go. I can see now.
I think there's a bit of a lag on the screen.
Yeah, slight lag, yeah.
So if you want to find the documentation, you can view it here. You can set up your own API key and just get cracking with that. Or you can obviously also just connect to Wayahead and let me do all the work for you. Which is a nice transfer to Wayahead.
Yeah, good job on that. So tell me a little bit more. What is Wayahead? What can you do? So in Streamtime, everyone is logging their time and their jobs and the invoices and their quotes, and there's a lot of data there. And you can do reporting within Streamtime. So tell me a little bit. What do you have? What is Wayahead? What can we use it for?
Yeah, so Wayahead is a tool that I've created specifically for reporting on Streamtime. Obviously, having worked at Streamtime for almost 10 years, having dealt with loads and loads of reporting questions from clients. Some of you are watching this this demo right now. Having worked with these reports for so long, so Streamtime has a lot of reporting built in, and there's a lot of information you can find in Streamtime. But if you want to make prettier reports or more in-depth reports, very often it was a question of taking the data from Streamtime, exporting it, and then manipulating it in spreadsheets. So what I wanted to do with Wayahead is I wanted to take all that data and process it in the best possible way. And I've created a whole series of reports in this app already that are just ready to use. And it just gets all the data out of Streamtime and shows it in a way that you can very quickly interpret and see where you stand. So that was the idea of Wayahead. And so apart from the standard reports, which are all available in here, which you'll just find on the side, I also offer custom reporting. So if somebody wants a very specific custom report that is not for everyone, but just for them, then I can help you build that as well. So that's what I do with Wayahead.
That's fab. That's really good to know, and a good way to introduce what we're going to see. There's a lot of hellos from people that know you already. Susan, Susanna, Sam already earlier, Renan, yes,
Hi, everyone.
a lot of love there, huh?
Good to be back.
I'm just about to share the APIs link here, and past the hellos, can you show us a little bit what data do we see in Streamtime and what screens we're seeing on the Wayahead?
Yeah, well, I'll just start with a very practical example. So this report, which I'm opening up here, this is what's called a staff report. And it basically shows you what your team have been up to in a week's time. So this is running the staff report for this week, and I can also go back and see the same results for last week. The idea of this report is, so in Streamtime, let me quickly switch to Streamtime because I've got this open in Streamtime as well. Can you see the timesheet report now?
Yeah. Yep. For those, let me just cut you there for 1 second. For those joining now, we're talking about Streamtime, the API, what you can do with it, and we're showing a real case of use of the API with meals way ahead. I just see a lot of people joining now. They're just running late, so I just wanted to make sure they didn't get lost and just So yeah, go ahead.
So looking at a timesheet report in Streamtime. So this is my team's time from last week, and it's grouped by a team member, of course. Now, what I felt was missing here is you see the total, but a lot of studios work with billable and non-billable time. They want to see that staff reach up to a certain billable amount of hours each week, and so that's what I did with Wayahead. I actually break down the time entries into billable and non-billable. So the dark blue areas are usually billable. So Donnie has 35.8 hours billable last week, and he's also got 4 hours non-billable last week. And he's missing a little bit, but that's quite all right. So he's achieved 39 hours and 45 minutes in total, and that's exactly what we find back in Streamtime as well. So
all the color coding that we're seeing there goes across the entire app. Is that so? So that
yes.
You can kind of get.
So for billable and non-billable, yes. So billable is always the dark blue bit, and non-billable is the light blue bit. So you can see what people have been up to. You can see how that goes against their target. You can see how that spreads across the week. You can even see how that is in a 10-week graph. Like you can see a bit of a trend. Are they slacking on their timesheets, or is it are they improving? So that's what you can see here. You can even pick up the details and see exactly each individual timesheet entry that they made. And so the idea of this is really just to get a very quick overview. The green ones have completed their time entries. The red one, or the blue one, dark blue one, sorry, they are slightly under the target. The red bits are the missing bits. And so just at a glance, you can very quickly see how the team is progressing for a specific week.
That's brilliant. What I also really like about this is the team effort. It's something that is one of the key metrics for agencies would be the team effort. And here you can see it just like that right there. It's right there.
This is just a summary of what this is for the entire team. So as a team, they had 100. Well, their overall target was 191 hours billable for the week. Now, of course, every week is different, especially these are the holidays. So you could probably expect to see a lot more non-billable time this month than what we usually target, but that's quite all right. So you get both a detailed view for one individual, but you also get the bigger picture for the team. So you kind of see the same information processed in many different ways and many different graphs to give you different insights. And especially for bigger teams, you can even filter this by different teams. So you can say, just show me what the digital team has done, and that will also help you read through this quicker.
So that's brilliant. I think that's very valuable, and it's like everything is just there's a snap of view of the entire team. So that's really good. And then just very briefly, let's touch on what you can do to automate this. So say somebody is new, they don't quite get the whole time entry thing, or you have to handhold them a little bit more or mind their time entry a bit more. Can you automate that? Can you send yourself a little report?
Well, this was a popular request as well. So when you go into Wayahead, you can call up the timesheet results for a specific week manually. But what people want is everyone wants to be lazy and they just want to get the results in their inbox. So I created this here. I've actually set myself up to send these reports automatically. And I've actually set up 3 different schedules. Now, this is interesting because if you are a team manager and you need to know if people are completing their timesheets, you probably want to check this on a Friday night. And then maybe you have to chase a few people up. But some agencies will also want to check this on a Monday morning. And so what I've done here is I've set up 3 schedules, and I'm gonna get an email at 5:12 on Friday. I'm going to get another one on 9 o'clock Monday morning. I'm gonna send another email on Tuesday. Now, the first two emails are just sent to me and Walter, like we manage the studio. The third email on the Tuesday morning is only sent to the slackers, and the slackers are considered those who have not completed their timesheets for that week.
By Tuesday.
So they just get another friendly reminder from the system, fully automatic, to say, hey. And so you can just add as many schedules as you want, send them to the slackers, send them to specific team members, choose which days you want to receive the email. So you can set that all up in here. Or you can just pick any date and send it off manually whenever you want. You can even include your hibernated staff if you want to see, from a month ago what people did. And the kind of email you get will be something like this. So you just receive an email, and it's got a simple PDF report on it that shows how people have tracked, what about their billable target, what about the total week, have they completed timesheets. So that's the kind of overview that you get. And if you want to get more details, you can just click the link to go to the staff reports that we just saw earlier.
That's fab. So going back to the data, the Streamtime data, obviously you can see what everyone has done for the week in Streamtime as well, in the time view, the time screen, and you can get a really rough idea quite quickly by Thursday, how they're tracking in terms of time. But the features that you showed about, sending emails to the team is really cool. And so what other parts of Streamtime that are popular in terms of reporting are the financial figures, so profit figures. What can we do with the data that we have in Streamtime?
Well, I'll give you an example of profit. I just did a search here, and I just searched for what I invoiced this month so far. So we've got 28,395 pounds billed. One of the reports I've got here is an invoice profit report, which I can run for any period. And so in this case, I'll just run it for this year, let's say. So I'm going to say run this for this year. Now, this report will give you your revenue summary for the year. In this case, it'll just give me a total by month, so January, February, March, and I can see how much I've billed in total each time in this column here. But it actually goes a little bit further. So if you check out August, you can see 28,395 right there. So that's my monthly total. So I've got a nice and convenient summarized overview by month. But I've actually taken it one little step further. A question that all of you, well, not all of you perhaps, but some of you have been asking for the last 10 years is not just to see how much revenue you've created in a month, but to also associate the costs with those invoices, so you can see how much profit you make on each invoice. So
that is the clever bit, isn't it? It's a bit blurred at the moment. I'm not sure everybody's seeing it blurred. It just seems like Demio is kind of slowing things down, so it's looking a bit blurred. The figures on the screen are looking a bit blurred. I'm not sure if everyone is seeing. No, that's perfect now. Actually, we can see them really clearly now.
Probably.
So that's really good. So that's really clever.
Yeah. Well. I mean, I had this discussion with a lot of people back in the Streamtime days. The difficulty is you want to associate a cost. If you purchase printing from a supplier and you invoice it onto a client, it's pretty straightforward. You can associate a cost with an invoice, and that's easy. But there's a lot of costs that don't get billed out to the client directly. You might hire a freelancer but sell design to the client. You might have travel expenses but don't bill them on literally as travel expenses to the client. They might just be soaked up into something else. So it's really, and then there's advances on advance invoices, and then there's so many different exceptions. So in this case, the system automatically calculates the best match for where the invoices should go. And so for each invoice, it knows. So here we've invoiced 19,000 or almost 20,000 pounds, and it says, okay, well, there's 5,000 pounds worth of costs associated with this invoice. And I can even double check that. I can see what the exact invoice details are, and I can see what the expenses on that job were. And so these two are on the job, and I can check that. Technical, electrical supplies. I can say yes, that's all included. I can confirm that, and so the next time I ever look at this invoice, the system will know, and it will not ask me again. So each invoice can just be verified once and checked once. And once that is done, you can always run this report, and it will always be 100% accurate. But so it kind of goes 80% automatic, and then you can just verify that, and once you've verified it, it'll always be right. So not just a summary of invoices per month, but also associated costs, so you can get a bit of an idea of what you're actually bringing into the studio each month, gross profit.
Very good. That's fab.
Okay. I mean, that sort of information can also be seen in other graphs, you know, in a yearly overview, for instance.
Okay,
Yeah.
we've got another few minutes left. We're actually doing quite okay for time. But I'd like to leave a little time for questions towards the end.
Sure.
There was a really good screen that would help with the overview of the entirety of the business. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
This screen here, I think you're talking about this one. This screen is more talking about the current state of jobs. And I might even rerun the report and just let it run for live jobs only. This is a big screen, right? This has got loads of little graphs and lots of information. I mean, maybe it even looks a bit overwhelming at first, but you know, once you get used to this, you'll know exactly what you're looking for, and possibly different clients will be looking for different things. One prominent thing in the middle here, if you look at this section, can you see the section that I just selected? So that area, for instance, there. That's kind of something you've got in Streamtime. In Streamtime, you know what the budget is on your jobs, you know what the sell value is of the work that you've put in so far, so your time and your expenses, and you know what you've invoiced. Now that is, as far as I'm concerned, in any studio, quite an important measure and quite an important comparison. The only thing is, like, if I want to know if I overspent against the budget, I need to read this number 6,000 and compare it to that number 2,000. Like, I don't know that unless I read the numbers and interpret the numbers. So in here, what I did is I kind of take all that information and I calculate those comparisons for you. So you can see, okay, we've got 14 jobs within budget, we've got 15 jobs over budget. And if I want to know which jobs those are, I can click and I can see them in a little modal. It gives me a little graph of where we stand and how far out we are. I can sort these, you know, from the biggest jobs to the smallest ones, because you know, I don't care if a £50 job is 300% over budget. That's irrelevant. I want to know about the big ones. So this is sorted from big to small, and it lets me focus on the most important jobs.
So I can see that this kind of information, you can actually create filters in Streamtime that you could set favorites to do something like this. But here is right there. So what you're doing is you're taking the Streamtime data that is available there, unsearchable and queryable, and just taking it further to visualize it in a way that suits you and that obviously your clients are very keen on seeing. So that's fantastic. That means, you know, the API is powerful enough to do all of this.
Absolutely.
And that's just really good. It's
and
really
having this information summarized in this way is handy. When you open up that modal, that extra window with the list, the only reason I added that is because I wanted to avoid that people would have to jump forward from Wayahead back into Streamtime, back in Wayahead, back in Streamtime, so that if you see some information, that was the same in the timesheet, the staff report, for instance. If you're looking at information, you'll immediately also see the data that is taken from. So you don't have to keep switching windows. So some of the stuff you see in here, you will definitely also see in Streamtime, obviously. But I just wanted to put it all in one place so you didn't have to keep jumping forth and back in that case. I mean, what's also, I kind of like these are really simple, but could be very powerful. This is the value of new jobs that have come in the last 12 months. So obviously as a studio, you know that if you bring in a certain amount of work with a certain amount of value, then you're safe. You know, if you see that number going down at some point, you can expect to have less revenue in the months coming. So this is just showing you how many jobs came in and what the total value of those jobs are month to month. And so, well, this is based on my Streamtime demo. It's not a real account, of course. So I hope this would look a lot different on your account than on mine. So this is looking 12 months back, and this one here is looking 12 months forward. So quite simply looking at which jobs are currently active, what is still running, what are the due dates, the various due dates on those jobs, and how much have we got left to invoice on that job? So if I've got a job and some of it is already billed, and we've got about 20,000 left to bill, and the deadline is September, then this will show 20,000 pounds on September. And so that way we can just basically just based on the live jobs, we can make a bit of a projection on how much we've got in the queue at the moment for billing. Okay. A bit problematic, of course. I can see here I've got loads of jobs with no due date. That's not good, of course. So all the jobs that are running but don't have a due date, you still see them, but I just push them straight to the end of the calendar. So they're kind of there. You can still see how much is there, but it's kind of out of reach because you didn't set a date on it. But that kind of information is what you see in this dashboard. So it's a very quick overview of what your current job statuses are.
That's
and of course,
good.
yeah. There's this big one at the top. This was from some, this is input from a client who said, look, one of the main measures that we look at is at the end of the month, we tend to invoice the things we did that month. So during the month, we tend to keep an eye on how many billable hours have we achieved or have we accumulated so far, because that's most likely what we will invoice. And so this graph shows you how many hours are available in the month, how much of that is meant to be billable based on your targets, or what you're trying to achieve anyway. And then it's showing how much you've actually booked in billable hours, and how much that is worth, and at this pace where you are likely to end up. So it looks here like I'm going to end up just under my my preferred target. Partly because we've got quite a few missing hours. Now, and this might be harsh, but I do like to express that with a pound figure. I mean, in theory, all the hours that you spent, if they are billable, then you can ideally sell them. And so all the hours that haven't been booked are potentially lost. So it's something that you should be aware of. It's okay to have non-billable hours. You'll have plenty of staff that aren't billable anyway, but the people that are billable and that have to try and match a particular target, you really want to make sure that their hours are accounted for. And so that's what that is showing.
Brilliant. For any extra key reporting that studios, agencies, video production companies, in general, like any company may want to run. Next week, we're running a webinar with a financial consultant that works with agencies. And it's going to be very insightful, even for you, Emil, to see what are the key reporting that agencies should be running to stay on top. What are the things, how you calculate costs of stuff? Like, we're going to cover lots of questions that actually come from our clients and our team have gathered. So yeah, tune into next week's webinar as well. I see a question from Susan here. She's asking, is that a standard report on Wayahead? And I'm pretty sure she was referring to the invoicing one, the one that you saw all the invoices per year. Mm-hmm. She's asking, is that a standard report on Wayahead?
That is a standard report, yes. I mean, I've only got standard reports in here at the moment. I can build custom reports. So if somebody says I want that report, but with this or that tweak that is specific for our business, I can do that. But all the reports that you've seen so far are all standard in Wayahead, yes.
And all obviously based on the data that you've got in Streamtime.
And all based on your Streamtime data. Yeah. I mean, if you sign up for a trial account of Wayahead, which you can just do via wayahead.app or .be, whichever you want. If you sign up for a trial account, connect your Streamtime, which is just a 1-minute thing. You go to these reports and they'll all be there with your data. There's very little to do to get started.
I think that is when people are really going to realize, oh my God, I can see this. Oh, what's this? Oh, what? And so some of the things you can already do in Streamtime. It's just a matter of filtering and extra filtering and just saving.
Yeah.
But if you don't want to have to do that, you just come here, log in.
Yeah, plus it's like I said at the start, I mean, I did help a lot of people over the years, both in Classic back in the day, probably more so in Classic, but also in the new Streamtime, to just export some of the data and prettify it. Like, I've got a report in here that'll allow you to send a timesheet report to your client, very quick and easy, but in your own house style, for instance, that kind of thing. If you want to do that from Streamtime, you would automatically have to export the data. And so that kind of reporting is what I wanted to. I basically wanted to cut out the middle step of having to fiddle around with page numbers or Excel.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
Yeah. So yeah,
that's really good. We've got some questions. Any more questions? Can I check the 12-month past and present values? Looks great.
Values of what?
Are those figures profit figures or just basic invoice figures?
Are we talking about what we saw on the job screen?
This screen, I'm guessing.
This screen here, the sell value is obviously the sell value of your invoice. So if I take this particular invoice, this is how much we invoiced this for. If you look at this cost of 209, that's the cost that Wayahead associated with that invoice. Actually, sorry, I didn't mean to click that, but that's okay. And that's the cost that Wayahead associated with that invoice based on what it detected. So the way that it'll associate a cost with an invoice is usually based on the date, because most agencies, if you purchase printing in August, you're most likely to sell that on to the client in your next invoice round. So whatever you purchase usually goes on the next invoice, not always, but usually. And so that's generally how this calculates that. And so the cost associated with each invoice is calculated automatically. If you want to overwrite it, you can, and then store it forever, so that every other time you run this report, like this one here, I'll never have to confirm this again. It'll always know that the cost for that invoice is 209, and it'll always report it like that.
Okay, that's really good.
So it's obviously all the costs that sit in Streamtime. They're all there.
So she actually meant the big compile screen.
The jobs report. I'll tell you, so looking 12 months back, that is looking at the budget of the job, because some of these jobs may have a budget, but they haven't got sell value because we haven't actually done anything on them yet. They haven't got an invoice because we haven't billed anything. So it's looking at the budget of the jobs. This one here, the blue one. Sometimes it's approved quotes. Sometimes it's the budget that you just slapped on, but that's what this is looking at. I guess it does make an exception because sometimes there's no budget that has a sell value. So there's this, it's clever like that. It'll just use whatever the best possible value is for each job. And this one here will look also at it. This one's also clever. It looks at the budget. So if I've got a job which is for £20,000 and it's still running, and we invoiced 5,000 back in June, then we've got 15,000 left open on that job. And so if the deadline is September, it'll just mark 15,000 for September. So it's based on what you've billed, what the budget was, and the deadline, those three put together.
That's brilliant.
Yeah. Now, of course, if I put some more deadlines on my jobs, this would look a lot different.
So it's only budget figures, not profit figures.
It's no, not
That's
profit. No, not profit. To project profit on jobs that have only just started, that's just too hard. Too hard for a simple graph like this. I mean, you'd probably have to go to something as like the invoice profit report, where you actually have to put in some more parameters before you can show that. I mean, there's too many variables that we can't account for to pour it into a simple graph like this.
Yeah, it's a good thing that if people want to go ahead and actually go ahead
way ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to play on words there, and sign up for a trial to see the data with your own jobs. I think you'll make more sense out of things as well.
Yeah,
we are.
I think maybe a last thing to say is over the years I've had a lot of questions, and my response with clients, and some of you know this, was always to ask questions right back, because you say, look, I want to see this, and I'll say, yeah, but what do you want? What do you mean? Like what does that figure come from? You know, how does that calculate? And with that input together, we can definitely make some great stuff, and there's probably already standard reports in here that match, but that's usually how it'll work. Okay.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Well, that's been very insightful, Mio. And it's been great to have you here in the same screen as me. How about that? Rob is on holiday and you're here. That is fab.
No, it's nice doing this again. Nice to see you all again. Well,
all those years.
Really, but...
and then, yes, so if anyone has got any questions, we've got a couple of minutes before we have to go. Susan, perhaps it's good to see everyone. Like I'm seeing lots of new clients, lots of very good clients, new clients, old clients, and a lot of people I know you, Miel, as well.
Yeah.
So you know.
Good.
So if no one else has questions, we'll wrap it up. It's been really good to have you. And hopefully see you sometime in the future. And if anyone has got any questions, what's your email address if anyone has got any questions, Miel?
It's just meal@wayahead.be, which you'll find on the website, wayahead.be or wayahead.app.
Big shout out.
All right, thank you.
Lovely
Thank you,
to have you
everyone.
all. Cheers.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.